Welcome back to another episode. First and foremost, something I'd like to talk about, since we're looking at a full 100% ground up rotisserie type restoration, which is what this is, versus what this is, a paint job, right? Everybody says, oh, paint jobs are so expensive. Well, there's a huge difference between this, which is still more than just a paint job, because as you can see, the amount of body work that's already gotten done on this truck, and we're not even done yet, but this we can call a paint job. This is a restoration. Thousands of hours into this, hundreds of hours into that. There's a huge difference in price. There's a huge difference in effort that needs to go into these vehicles. For instance, these trucks, I mean, look at the gaps. No cutting, no welding, no nothing. They don't need to be done. Chevy figured it out when it came to the OBS truck. These trucks, the gaps aren't very good. They got to be cut. They got to be grinded. They got to be welded. They got to be fabricated. Sheet metal has to be moved around. There's a ton of work that goes into these trucks, especially when you want them to be really, really nice. So hopefully, as this channel progresses and as you guys are watching the videos, maybe even the past videos up to this point, you have a better understanding of a paint job versus a rotisserie, 100% rotisserie bodywork and paint job, which doesn't just stop at bodywork and paint. It's all new seam sealer, it's bed liner, it's rust repair, it's gapping, it's anything and everything you can think of. Not to mention all the custom touches that are done to these trucks, like the custom hinges that Dylan will talk about in a little bit, the custom wheel tubs, the fact the wheel tubs and the outer fender are now one and not two, and they're fully welded up. There's just so many little things on a custom build like this that drive that price up and that make it cost what it does. So please stop saying it's just a paint job, because that's just a paint job. This is not. Anyway, like I said, welcome to the episode. We're gonna dig in and see what we got going on today.
Got the rad support of Victor's truck. It fits, but I'm gonna cut the edges off to give us more room to move the fenders around. Gap's pretty good, but I want more space, and by the time we bodywork the inside of the fenders, I want to make sure that it's not going to be metal to metal and scrape our paint off. I don't know if you'd call this a fold or a stamp mark, but when this panel is all stamped together, there's this big, ugly kind of fold, so I'm going to cut that and weld it and make it smooth. That's just cosmetic. That's just purely because they make these things nice. So yeah. All right, we have Victor's C10 here. First thing I did this morning, took the core support out, this piece, and I trimmed each side. And I trimmed each side because this truck has welded in inner fenders that are seamed right here. And it's kind of a lot of welds there, and we're gonna body work it. So if this radiator support hits where we body work, it'll chip the paint, could chip the filler. So I wanted to make sure we had plenty of room there. I might have talked about this earlier, can't remember. When this panel's formed, like metal can't just bend, it has to go somewhere where there's bends and everything. So there's this big, ugly kind of fold right at the corners here. So I cut them, hammered them down flat, smoothed them out, and then welded the seams back up. So then when we body work this, it'll be nice and smooth and just look better. That's purely cosmetic. Next, where the skin of the fender wraps over the inner fender, there's a big tab that kind of wraps over, and I cut that out because that would be where the radiator support would hit. So that's why I kind of did it from both sides, radiator support and fender. So we body work this, it'll all be smooth, straight. What do I do next? I just stripped some paint off the cowl. This is the only piece of the whole truck that is not brand new sheet metal. I just did that because I wanted to get the hood on, get the cowl on, kind of start to see my lines, see like, am I gonna cut the cowl, am I gonna cut the hood? So see it in bare metal, and look, I even found an old repair. Somebody welded up the antenna hole, but then there's another one next to it. You can see a bunch of rust in there and crappy welds and filler, so that's good I found that. I'll have to fix that. So over to the hood. All of the trucks that are built by Tray 5 that we do don't run factory hinges because the factory hinge would hit our tub. We use this style of hinge, don't know where it comes from, but it's this style. It goes into the cowl. Because of that, where it mounts on the hood is different. The factory hinge would be somewhere over here. Oh, actually the bolts are right there. And there's this aftermarket plate that gets welded on which bolts the hood to the hinges. They were just tacked in place, so that way I could adjust them if I wanted to. I undid the tacks, moved them where I wanted to, and I moved them because once I got the hood where I want it, aligned to the fenders with our gaps and all that, I wanted to make sure that these are slotted. So I wanted to make sure that when the hood's where I want it, the bolts are in the middle, and that way, if something goes wrong and I have to move the hood back or forward, I have plenty of room. I didn't want the hood to be maxed out one way because this truck's still in metal. We have epoxy to go through. Stripping it in epoxy and assembly. Then we have body work. Then we have our first round of polyester and assembly and paint and all that. Things move around. So I want to make sure I have as much adjustment as possible. And once I made sure that they were where I wanted to, I welded them solid instead of just tacks, and that'll get ground down and bodywork smooth, so it'll kind of look like one piece. You won't even really notice them there. And then I'll go ahead and weld up the original holes just to look cleaner. So now that I have the hood, I'm gonna get the hood back on first thing tomorrow. Now, maybe I'll even grind those welds down. I'll probably do that first. That'll be easier like this. Grind those welds down. I'm not gonna body work it. We'll get the hood on, get it shutting back where I wanted to, and then I'm gonna go. One thing that's super important that I've learned the hard way when doing these trucks, I know we take them apart and put them back together a million times, but to make sure that all the bolts are in. Because, I can get the fender on with 2 bolts and it'll stay there, but that 3rd, 4th, 5th bolt might tweak it, might change things. So you make sure that all the hardware is in all the times. That's why I have the grill on. Make sure so I have like the whole truck assembled. So after I get the hood on, like I said, I'm gonna check all my hardware, make sure it's all in. Like I even have the seals in the doors and the latches. And then I'm gonna start addressing my worst gaps and start fixing them because the hood is literally smashing this cowl, it's touching it. So I'm not sure if I'm gonna cut the back of the hood or the cowl is already pretty off, so maybe I'll go ahead and start cutting that because I have to move it down and in. So we'll see there, but I'm gonna address my worst gaps, starting with the hood out.
So as you can see, we've begun the body work on the shop truck Chevy Dually here. The stamping around the windows is one of the things I definitely wanted to take care of on this truck. They look pretty bad when you don't do that. There's stamping around the door handles we took care of. You'll notice the gaps are nice and clean just because these trucks, Chevy figured it out on these, and there's no reason to do the gaps on these trucks. They're already nice. Didn't want to have the stake pockets, so decided to weld those up. So pretty much the only heavy body work that's left on the driver's side is this section right here. Other than that, this whole side is pretty much ready for high build primer and then a round of solid blocking. and most likely we'll prime it again from there and then prep for paint. I got a few little dings left to do to the roof and a few more blemishes up in these cracks here I got to fix, and then the roof will be ready to get primed. I need to adjust the hood. Hood's just kind of tossed on there, but I need to get the hood adjusted and gapped and make sure that it's up where it needs to go. Hood's not original to the truck. It's a newer, nicer hood, so we put that one on instead. Let's see, so tailgate. I don't know what I'm gonna do about the tailgate yet. The tailgate that was on the truck had a shaved handle with a flip kit in it. I can't stand that. I really wanted everything to be original looking. I really debated even shaving the stake pockets, but it's just such a cleaner look, I decided to get rid of those. But as far as the handles go, I've had vehicles shaved before. It's a pain in the butt. I don't really care for it. I really like the stock look of everything. Unfortunately, when I got the truck, it had a shaved tailgate on it, so we started blocking on the tailgate and realized that it needed to be stripped. So we stripped it all the way down. The plate that was welded in where the handle was welded in flat. It wasn't contoured with the tailgate, so it caused a lot of warping underneath the handle. The dualies have those lights in the tailgate that'll go across the back of the tailgate. Well, those are welded up and kind of warped a little bit too, so I'm kind of debating on, do we fix the tailgate and put it on even though it's shaved, or do I buy another tailgate and put a handle back in it, which is most likely what I'm gonna do. So I'm kind of still on the fence with that, along with on the fence with the color. I do not know yet what color I'm gonna do this thing. As I get closer, I'll obviously have no choice but to figure it out, but for now, I've got a long ways to go before I have to worry about the color on this truck. So thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys on the next video.